there, BookTube. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're here to talk Caribbean reading because on Thursday, June 11th, we're going to be starting hashtag Karibathon, which is a readathon I'm going to be hosting here on YouTube along with Pedro from Comfy Cozy Up. We're going to be hosting the hashtag Caribathon Readathon, which is to read books by Caribbean authors or books that are set in the Caribbean or books that highlight the Caribbean experience in some way. And the readathon goes from Thursday, June 11th to Sunday, June 20th. That is 10 hopefully glorious days of reading Caribbean books along with me and Peta and all the other people who will be participating. I'm so excited to be hosting this. I'm so excited to be sharing this experience with you. June is Caribbean Heritage Month here in the United States, and so all month long I've been celebrating Read Caribbean on Instagram. I'm one of the co-hosts of the hashtag Read Caribbean on Instagram, and so if you're following me on Instagram, you'll see that I've been posting a Caribbean book of the day every day. And so some of these books that I'm going to be talking about today I've already shared on Instagram, so you might want to follow me on Instagram as well. You might get a little bit of a preview of some of the things that I do in the videos. Today I'm going to be talking about books from the Caribbean. In my announcement video, I shared one definition of Caribbean. So we talked about the 13 independent countries in the Caribbean Sea as being the Caribbean countries for the purposes of this readathon. But I don't want to limit you. If you wanted to read books from other Caribbean countries, Caribbean from the other definitions, if you wanted to read a book from another Caribbean country that isn't mentioned in the list that I have shared in the description box down below, you're welcome to do so. I am not trying to discourage anyone from reading Caribbean, however you define Caribbean. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from reading any book. But since I gave one definition of Caribbean, I want to stay consistent. And so today I'm going to be sharing those 13 Caribbean countries. I'm going to be talking about a book or an author, at least from each one of those countries, so that you might get some recommendations if you're still looking for books for your Caribathon TBR. So in alphabetical order, the first country on the list is Antigua and Barbuda, and to represent Antigua and Barbuda, I have Jamaica Kincaid's Annie John. This is just one of the novels that I have read from this author. I've also read See Now Then, Autobiography of My Mother, Lucy, Mr. Potter, and I recommend Jamaica Kincaid's writing because a lot of the experiences that she shares in her writing are not just specific to Antiguan life, they are pretty universal experiences wherever in the Caribbean you have visited or lived. So I'm recommending Jamaica Kincaid's writings. I know there are lots of other authors who are probably from Antigua and still live in Antigua who have published, but because Jamaica Kincaid has spent most of her adult life in the United States and her books are published here in the United States, they are probably much more easily acquired, depending on where in the world you are, of course. But here in the United States, Jamaica Kincaid's books are widely available. So I recommend her as one of the representative writers of Antigua and Barbuda. Jamaica Kincaid. Next is Bahamas, and I have not read a book by a Bahamian author or read a book that was set in the Bahamas, and so I have requested a book from my library, which is a memoir by K. Allison Alberry. It's entitled Life on a Rock, and I'm looking forward to reading something about the Bahamas. So if you're looking for a recommendation from the Bahamas, you might want to check out that title as well. From Barbados, I have three authors that I wanted to share with you. First is Paul Marshall, who was born in the United States, but her father was a Bajan immigrant, and so her writing typifies that cross-culture experience where we have children who are born in the country that their parents have migrated to from the Caribbean. And so Paul Marshall's writings has that infusion of cross-culture and that expectation that the immigrant parent places on their children. So I'm looking forward to reading Brown Girl, Brownstones, I think is the title of her novel. I'm also getting a copy of that one from my library. That is Paul Marshall, Paul with an E. Her name was originally Pauline, but she changed her name to Paul Marshall, I think, as an adult. Other authors from Barbados I wanted to share with you were Kamua Brathwaite and George Lamming. George Lamming wrote In the Castle of My Skin, which is another book that I have on my reading list for the rest of this month, maybe not for the Caribathon Readathon. From Cuba, I have two books that I want to share with you. First is Heretics by Leonardo Padura. This is a Cuban native, and so this book was originally written in his native Spanish and translated to English by Anna Kushner. This is Leonardo Padura. He has written several novels and short story collections and even some nonfiction. Another one of his novels is entitled The Man Who Loved Dogs. This is a pretty large book, so you might not want to pick up a book that is over 500 pages for Readathon, but this is on my shelves, and so I'm going to be reading this one. This one has sentimental value to me. This is the book that I bought the day that I found out that I was expecting a baby, and so I wanted to read it. Other books that I have that represent the Cuban experience: Mortifications by Derek Palacio. I'm not sure of Derek Palacio's ethnicity. I know he is an American writer, but I don't know if his family is Cuban. I'm not sure. But this book talks about Cuban experience, life under the dictatorship, and what it means when people want to try to leave the dictatorship, when people want to try to escape, but not all the family is on board with the plans, because some of the family members believe in the revolution. And so this book speaks about that experience, the breakup of the family based on their division according to their political beliefs and political values. From Dominica, you might want to pick up White Sargasso Sea by Jean Reese. This author was born in 1890 in Dominica. She's a daughter of a Welsh man and a white Creole mother, and so this mixed race woman is probably representative of a big part of the demographic of the Caribbean countries. I haven't not read anything by this author before. I've never read this book, and so I'm looking forward to picking it up. It's also a pretty short read, and so it's ideal length for a readathon if you want to read a lot of books. Also representing Dominica, I've read a book by Marie Elena John entitled Unburnable. This author was from Antigua, and she spent some of her life here in the United States. But this book speaks about life in the Caribbean, not just Antigua. And so there is a setting where the main character leaves the United States and goes to Dominica. And it highlights the Dominican experience from a more universal perspective. It talks about carnival and magic and the legacy of womanhood in a family. And so I'm recommending that book as one of those cross-culture books, Unburnable by Marie Elena John, because the author is from Antigua, but also because there's a setting in Dominica. From the Dominican Republic, I have a couple of books here from Julia Alvarez, How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents, and Before We Were Free. Julia Alvarez was born in the United States, but her family was from the Dominican Republic, and so she spent some of her childhood in the DR. And another one of her books that is really popular is In the Time of the Butterflies, in which she speaks about the dictatorship of Trujillo and some of the reasons that people were trying to leave the dictatorship, looking for democracy, looking for freedom of their identities and their experiences. So I'm recommending Julia Alvarez and her writings for hashtag Karibathon. If you haven't read anything by this author before, you might want to pick up one of these 3 books or something else by her. She's also a very prolific writer. She's published a lot, and so you'll have a lot to choose from. From Grenada, I haven't read any books by this author, but Merle Collins has published Angel. And if you are looking for a book from this country, Angel is available on Amazon. I can't speak about the book yet because I haven't read it, but I'm hoping to pick it up for Karibathon as well. From Haiti, we have several books, several authors that we can talk about. Edwidge Danticat has published a lot here in the United States. She's published novels and short story collections. And Roxane Gay, who is of Haitian descent, her parents were Haitian immigrants, and so even though Roxane Gay herself is an American born, she writes from the Haitian experience as well because of her immigrant parents. And so anything you pick up from Roxane Gay will be a nod to the Caribbean background as well. Next on the list alphabetically is Jamaica, and so I have some books to share with you that represent different levels of reading for babies and children. We have this picture book by Cedella Marley. This is her adaptation of her father's work, Bob Marley's song Every Little Thing Is Gonna Be Alright. This is Every Little Thing. So it's based on the song Three Little Birds by Bob Marley, but it's written by Cedella Marley. And this is a picture book for children. I also have James Berry's short story collection, which is middle grade appropriate. This is A Thief in the Village and Other Stories of Jamaica. For young adult readers, I'd recommend Nicola Yoon. She wrote Everything, Everything, and the Sun is Also a Star. Those are YA books, and the author is from Jamaica. For adults, I would recommend any of these. Augustine by Kai Miller, The Confessions of Franny Langton by Sarah Collins. I should show you pictures of my authors, right? This is Kai Miller. This is Sarah Collins. She's also representing Grand Cayman. Patsy by Nicole Dennis Benn. She also published Here Comes the Sun, which is another book that I would recommend from this author. And from Harvey River, Memoir of My Mother and Her Island by Lorna Goodison. And Marlon James, A Brief History of 7 Killings. This is his Booker Prize winning novel. This is Marlon James. And his newest release, Black Leopard, Red Wolf. Presenting St. Kitts. I haven't read anything by this author before, but a Kittitian writer that I wanted to share with you was Carol Phillips, and two of his books are The Final Passage and Crossing the River. He writes historical fiction, and he is a contemporary writer, so his books are widely available. Representing St. Lucia, I have Omeros by Derek Walcott. This is a Nobel Prize winning novelist, and this is his take of Homer's Iliad. And so it is written as an epic poem, a novel-length poem by this author, this Nobel Prize-winning giant. Representing St. Vincent, I'm sharing the name of Inga Rhonda King. I haven't read anything by this author, but she is a teacher and a government official, and she's published, seems like she's published a lot of photojournals and essays, as well as some prose that represents her country. And so I'm looking forward to getting my hands on something by this author during the month of June, maybe for Karibathon, maybe a little later. And representing Trinidad, I could have chosen lots of different authors, but I pulled the books that I have on my shelves to share with you. V.S. Naipaul is a Nobel Prize winning novelist, and this is one of my favorite of his books. This is A House for Mr. Biswas, which is a big book which you might not want to attempt during the readathon, but this is a recommendation for any time. By this author, I would also share with you his Booker Prize winning book, In a Free State, as well as a collection of vignettes entitled Miguel Street, and this is also set in Caribbean and shares Caribbean life as it is being viewed by a child. I'm also sharing Golden Child by Claire Adam. This is Claire Adam. She grew up in Trinidad, even though she lives in England now. And this is a recent release. This was published, I think, last year. So this is a new one, easily acquired. Other authors that I would share with you from Trinidad are Michael Anthony, Earl Lovelace, and Samuel Salvan. So these are some of the books that I have read or want to share with you from the Caribbean. I'll be publishing another one of these videos every day as we lead into the Karibathon Readathon. So stay tuned for the next video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you're going to be participating, and I look forward to chatting with you here, as well as sharing Karibathon and Read Caribbean with you for the rest of this month. So thanks so much for watching this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. Let's talk down there, and until next time, happy reading. Bye.